much for being here this morning. My name is Kelsey Sutton. I am the editor of Marketing Brew, which is a Morning Brew Inc. publication. This is a great place to be learning about all things marketing and the future of marketing and advertising. And I'm really excited to be sitting down with all of you this morning to talk about the power of news in the AI era. Before we get started, could everyone just come down and introduce yourselves to our audience?
Hi, so maybe I'll start. I'm David Kostman, the CEO of TIDS. Welcome on our boat together with our partners here.
My name is Christoph. I'm the CMO and Chief Commercial Officer of Axel Springer.
I'm David Sable. I am Vice Chairman of Stagwell. And I just want to say, what a place to be in. And thank you, TIDS. But what do you say about a city where the chic look is to be wrinkled and look like shit? Like, what could be better?
It's perfect for you, David. Perfect for you.
Exactly my point.
Hi, I'm Sven. I'm General Manager of Inventory Development for EMEA at the Trade Desk. So we manage all the relationships with publishers and SSPs. And it's like, I wanted to complain that it's really warm, but then I see people actually working. So it's like, it's... so I can't complain anymore. I can't mourn, yeah.
Well, I want to kick things off by sort of starting with first impressions on this idea that the age of AI is the age of the publisher. And that was in the description of the panel, and I felt like that was a really great line to kind of pull out. I'd love to hear from...
Say it one more time.
The age of AI is the age of the publisher. I think some people might say the age of AI is just the age of AI. What are we talking about? So let's talk about it. What word or phrase, we'll start with, what word or phrase do you think you would use to emphasize why you believe that claim to be true? Maybe, Christoph, we can start with you.
Yeah, so I think for us it's a big opportunity, and I would connect this with the word trust, yes, because now the market is flooded with content. And our strategy is to invest into high quality journalism because we know that there is a need to inform people and also to have very exclusive stories. So for us, trust will be the most important part of news in the AI world. So because of having content everywhere. So, and this is what we believe and why we believe that now there will be strong decades for publishers.
Yes, wonderful. What about you, David?
Look, I think AI presents big opportunities for publishers, but I will also say there are some risks that are coming from traffic that goes to publisher side, but there are many ways to compensate and mitigate that. So I agree with Christoph. I think the sort of overload of content from AI, I think, will definitely shift people more and more towards trustworthy, authentic content from professional journalism. And then there are many technologies, platform things that we can do with our partners to improve the user engagement and user experience on the site, which is critical. So people will be attracted to a brand. People will be very critical around the experience on that brand. And the more you can improve that, I think you're going to help people stick more to traditional publishers and grow their business.
Absolutely. David from Stagwell, I'd love to hear from you too.
So let me build on what these guys just said. You see, I think that it is going to be the age of some publishers, but it's news publishers. And it's the age of the news publishers because of trust. It is totally going to destroy, in my view, many publishers because they're not trusted. And whatever it is that they publish is either just slop or general stuff that anyone can put out there. And so we're already seeing the pushback. We're seeing the pushback in Gen Z. We're seeing the pushback in Gen A. We're seeing that people are now worrying. Like, we talk about it and we don't even realize what we talk about, right? We talk about AI hallucinating. And like, imagine if you're looking for news, you have absolutely no idea if there's no reference. If it's something made up, if it's half made up, if it's all made up, it's not, you don't know. So I think that people are going to be looking for the trusted publishers, and we'll talk about the numbers, I hope, in one of your next questions. I'm going to hold that because there's a lot of data around that. We've been working on this together for a while, but the future of news is really powerful right now, in my view, and AI is going to make it even better.
I love that. Sven, what are your thoughts?
I think it's Multifaceted. I think many things on the publisher side have been mentioned. We also did like an additional study in the recent months. It's called the Power of Premium, where we also investigated what are like premium media brands that users actually love to go to, and it's actually about that trust. It's like brand affinity, and I think those publishers that users go to directly because they know the brand, they trust the brand. They're great ad environments, but it's also like still the destinations they go to and not just like fueled by AI. So if you've been a publisher that was basically just like dependent on search or social driving traffic to you, it's going to be very difficult in the future. But if you're a strong brand that users go to, it's great. And on the advertising side, I think we've got the great advantage with AI is that we can make ad experiences better. We can make buying in the open internet, like on those publishers, better and easier because that's what advertisers want. So I think it's a bright future for that.
I add something to that. There are news publishers already who are using LLMs in a closed system on their news feed. And so the brilliance of that is that it keeps the traffic inside their sites. The LLM reacts to the data that they have, so it's not going outside. And I think that to me is like an absolute brilliant use of AI. And again, it just comes back to this notion of trusted source. AI is here, so we might as well stop talking about like what it's going to do because it's here. But if you're smart about how you use it and you're trusted, it just increases the ability to keep people sticky with you.
Yes,
I do agree with Sven. I think the opportunity to sort of equal the level playing field between the open internet publishers, news publishers, and walled gardens is today much better with AI. So I think the improved monetization, at the end, we need to drive dollars and revenues and euros to publishers. I think AI can help a lot in just improving monetization, audience targeting, and outcomes on the open internet versus before. And then obviously keeping the users engaged. We can talk about that more. I think that's a biggest thing here in terms of the brand trustworthiness.
Yes, I love starting with trust as the table setter. I think that will definitely be a through line throughout this entire conversation. David from Stagwell, you alluded to some research that you have done with Axel Springer, and I'd love to share some of those big takeaways with our audience, particularly as we think about how advertising performs against news content.
So I'll give you two because there's so many. There's pages and pages, and you can all go look at on their site. You can look at Future of News site. You can find all the data. It's pretty interesting. Two critical pieces. One is this notion of news junkies. So in the U.S., it's 25%. In Germany, I think it's 26%. 35, sorry. I knew it was higher. It's 35%. In APAC, it's 21%. So in every place in the world, it's over 20%. So a news junkie is somebody who goes to a trusted news source, right? They're not just doom scrolling and looking for garbage. They go to trust, and that's what they do. 25% of the people. Now, the way Mark Penn, who's the CEO and founder of Stagwell, likes to talk about it, is everybody else is sort of couch potatoes. These guys are out there actually thinking about news. They're looking at it. Now, what's important about it, these are engaged people. Like, let's be really clear. We're looking for engagement, right? That's what an advertiser wants. You want to put your money where people are engaged. So we know that purchase intent, and the numbers are basically the same all over the world. It goes, flips one way or another. It doesn't really matter. Over 60%, sometimes 66%. Purchase intent of people who are on news sites, trusted news sites. That is off the charts. So I think at the end of the day, we've got people who are news junkies. That's what they watch. That's what they read. That's what they look for. That's what they're interested in. And you want that 25% because it's an upscale audience. It's an engaged audience. It's an important audience.
And I would like to share some words about how we created this project together. Yeah, so I think you had this study in place in the US and UK. And also from a German perspective, we said, so we also need an international study, yes, because for us, so as a publisher, it's a no-go, so that we have, you shared the data, so that we have so many news junkies, but also 80% that follow news regularly. Yeah, so this is a lot of high quality inventory. And when you are talking with advertisers, everyone is asking for, I need people with high income, yes. I need people, urban people, yes. I need real people, yes. And I also need people that are very well educated, yes. Why are you blocking our news audience? I don't understand, because this is exactly what you described. Yeah. So and therefore, yeah. So we decided we need strong figures. We need a proof of concept that there is no difference between having an ad into a brand safe environment. Yeah. So sports, entertainment, and a non-brand safe environment like news, like politics. Yeah. So and at the end, yeah. So we have the results. There is no impact, no negative impact for the brands. Yeah. So and now I think we have a lot of discussions also with the market, with the agencies, and with the brands. And I think I can see and I can feel that a lot of things are changing. Yeah. So, but we need this overall collaboration, because just to do it in Germany with local partners maybe is not a strong story, but to do it with international partners like Tietz, like the Trade Desk, like Stagwell, it's much more powerful. And this also helps us to compare the markets, the US market with UK, the German market with UK, because we are also a global publisher. For us, it's very important that our data are on a global level. So this was the starting point to talk with each other.
I just want to build one thing on that quick. I'll leave the brand safety we'll talk about. I hope you ask a question about that. But here's the thing, IRL media, in real life. Now, it's one of the hot topics here at Cannes, but most of the time what it refers to is out of home, because that's in real life. I'm telling you, news is the ultimate IRL, because people are looking in real time. They need this information. It's critical. Mm-hmm. So it occurred to me this morning, because I happened to have been at an IRL event, that this is IRL media. This is real life. Like, people are looking because something's happening someplace. They need to know.
I think the importance of the studies across the world is, I mean, this is a really good topic because it touches on our society and the importance of journalism. But that's great, and we can talk about it philosophically. And I think we all do care about, our next generations getting the news from better places, like these trustworthy publishers. But at the end, it's about the value to the advertiser. And I think there have been some concern. I think the studies that across the globe prove it, that not only don't you lose anything, but you gain, and this is incremental audiences. Purchase intent is great. Exactly what they're saying. The profile of the audiences is what advertisers should care about. I mean, I think advertisers, in the end, they will look at the ROAS or, the brand lift that they can get. And those studies are, I think, part of why we're doing this, is to really make the case that, hey, it's brand safe, we'll talk about that, but you're losing on potential great return on your advertising dollars and on audiences that you will not reach anywhere by doing this. So I think the economic equation is critical to really get those brands, and you, David, work with a lot of them, and at the end it gets blocked by, a media buyer that says, oh, I'm not going to do news, and that's what we're trying to really, eradicate.
By the way, it's also a great opportunity for first movers like brands right now. If you get a highly engaged audience in a great premium environment, and many others still block it. So if we just look at the dynamics of programmatic in an auction, you can make a great deal.
Can I build on that one too? I'm the builder here. I love what you just said, and I'll add one more thing. It's cheap as hell. Like, now is the time. The first mover advantage right now is that it's all underpriced. So, if any brand that is thinking this out in the right way, you got first mover for all the reasons Sven just said, but just as importantly, it's cheap. Whoa, get in.
So we heard the word brand safety a few times, and I think this is a great opportunity to really dig into and sort of try to unspool some of the assumptions that advertisers have had about brand safety. The normal has been sometimes these big block lists, just keywords, can't show up on anything at all. I want to start by asking what's being missed, and then what does AI offer as an alternative to those perhaps outdated or overly broad block lists as we think about finding these opportunities for some of these first movers, and then more and more brands to get in on news publishing. Maybe we can start with you.
Look, I think the advancements in technology allow you to, in a much better way, analyze the context, the behavioral, and the sentiment on a page. Today, there's no need for anyone to block based on all traditional keywords. I mean, you all know all the examples of some irrational outcomes that came out of blocking a word like arms or war and anything when, a popular person was talking about something. So I think today it's very easy to ensure brand safety. We are, as a technology platform, doing that. I think today it's at a level where there should not be any concern about. I mean, maybe there's very, very sliver of instances where you don't want to be next to inflammatory content. Say, okay, let's say I don't agree with that, but let's say we can, with partners, secure that that's not happening. So I think today it's off the table, that concern.
So let me just step back a bit, and I'll just give you the history of it, because I think it's important to understand how this all evolved, right? Because he's right. Today, because
Swift interview is one of them.
no, because I'm the oldest person here, so like I have to give you I have to go backwards a little bit. But the truth is, back in the day, news was premium, as you've heard. Everybody was in news. You were in newspapers. You bought premium on television. You bought premium on radio. Everybody was in news. Now, it just makes obvious, and nobody asked, nobody cared. You were on the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. You could buy pages, so you could ask to be on the right-hand side, flush to the left, flush to the right, whatever, but you didn't know it was going to be in the news, so whatever was there, you were there. That was it. You couldn't call them in the morning and say, oh my God, get me off the... Like, it didn't happen, right? And everybody was happy. But let's be clear, if you were Boeing, and God forbid there was a plane accident someplace, obviously you took your television commercials off. You were Delta, you took your television commercials off for a couple of days. That was just smart. That wasn't brand safety. That was smart. What happened is that as we moved forward on the internet and people started to search, it wasn't about the news as much as it was about the slop, as about the garbage that people were posting, the hate posts, the terrible things. And that's when we started using words to block out. And part of the problem is, any CMOs here before, like, I trash you all? Good. So I won't trash you, I promise. But many CMOs, right, we, unfortunately, in the United States, we sort of represent the coasts. We represent the East Coast and the West Coast. And so people tend to have a particular political view. And so they took this view that, no, it's none of this stuff is safe for our brands. And so they started blocking everything. It wasn't that they just blocked words. They actually blocked news. There was a little button. You literally could move from left to right, no news. Now, here's the problem. Like, why weren't you going and making a deal direct? You heard that before. I mean, I think that's the thing. Sonny's right. Like, go make a direct deal. And they weren't even doing that. And so I think that that was the issue. Now, what the research has proven is that it's absolute nonsense. People don't care. They don't pay attention. If they're in a trusted news source, again, come back to that, a trusted news source, we're talking about numbers 60, 70% who, like, they couldn't care less. They're not looking, you're not tainted. They're not looking to say, oh my God, I was next to something about the president I like or don't like, so your brand sucks. It's totally irrelevant. They look at the ad for what it is. They read the content for it is. People are not stupid. And I think that that's the change we're seeing. And yes, AI is going to make a bit of a difference because if, and again, what we hope is, because they're going to send people to trusted sources, we're going to make more direct deals. So Morning Brew 2, so throwing them like a little advertisement for them because they're great. But that's going to change the trajectory. I really believe it. And again, brands here, how many brands do we have here? Good. So hopefully the brands are listening and we want to see you guys in news because it just makes sense.
And honestly,
By the way, David, agencies can help that too. So
I agree. Well, we,
Agencies can help that.
we've signed the oath.
agencies.
Oh, okay. We've signed the oath.
but honestly, yeah. So from a publisher perspective, yeah. So also, yeah. So how to describe it? Yes, we had very strange situations. Yeah. So in the morning, yes, when another war or conflict started, yeah. So we got some calls. Please stop advertising at all. Yeah. So for the next weeks, let's see how it will work. And then my first reaction was always, yeah, so okay, now you will also stop TikTok. You will now stop Instagram, yeah, so because exactly these topics will be now shared with from thousands of followers, influencers, yeah, so without any strong maybe argumentation, yeah, so this is what's happening now. This is what everyone will talk about today. But I think it's a better way to communicate it by journalists and with a lot of arguments, yes, with background information and interviews, than to share it just on social media. And there was always the answer, no, we will not block TikTok. Of course not. Yeah. So, and this was, honestly, this is totally strange. Yeah, because exactly the topics we are sharing on our media assets, yeah, so happen in parallel in the same time, but in a totally different quality, yeah, so on social media, yeah, so why are not blocking social media or stop social media in parallel?
So true story. All of you know X, and all of you know, I'm sure, the story of what happened when Elon bought X, Twitter, and then changed the name to X, and all the American advertisers jumped off. Everybody went off the platform. So comes the first Super Bowl, they refused to be on it. Here's the absolute truth. You can go back and look. Every single one of the advertisers who pulled their advertisement were posting organically, non-stop, during the Super Bowl. Now think about the absurdity of, oh no, I can't put my brand here. I'm not going to pay for it because of brand safety, but boy, I know that these messages are being amplified like nuts right now because of the Super Bowl. So we're just going to keep posting all day long organically. So I told them, like, just cut them off. Like, don't let them on. Like, if they don't want to pay you, just like cut them off. Like, it's ridiculous. And your point about TikTok is right. So, you know, if you go back and look, I think it was 2 years ago, January, the U.S. Senate hearings, TikTok is the most, next to Facebook, is the worst environment for children, for teens. It's terrible. And as you know, around the world, people are blocking them. In China, like, here's the joke, right? In China, no one's allowed on the equivalent of TikTok. Mm-hmm. Like, but here, they're very happy to, like, take our kids, here in the U.S. or in Europe, take our kids and put them on TikTok. But the Chinese who own it aren't ready to let their kids be on it. Yeah. And yet we worry about trusted news sources. Like, there's something wrong with the world.
I want to ask about the audience behavior in news, because when we talk about TikTok, I sort of imagine myself like dead-eyed scrolling, like comatose, basically. And in the news, when I'm reading, it's first thing in the morning. I'm very engaged, particularly if there's a lot going on. So the behavior among consumers is very different. And I'd love to hear, maybe we can start with you, Christoph, but I'd love to hear from all of you about the behavior that we see and the audience makeup in news and what that means for advertisers who are trying to reach them, because it's a very different experience for a reader or a viewer on a news site versus on a social media site.
I think the first one is when we talk about the user behavior. I think there is a new study that I think 60% that inform on LLMs are not trusting the news on LLMs, so they come to news brands, yeah, so to check if this is really true, yeah. So I think this is also very important for us, yeah, so because this also demonstrate that there is a huge value for high quality journalism. And I think this is what you shared, yeah. So what is a news junkie look like? Yeah, so he is coming also to our media brands 10 times a day, yeah, checking a lot of information, yeah, checking a lot of articles, and we try now to connect this interest, because now you're engaged, and now we build up exactly what you described, our own AI tool. So you read an article, and after reading the article, you have a lot of questions, and we can answer to your questions. Yeah, but it's not necessary to leave us. Yeah, so and we see that especially the behavior of the audience is changing. So they spend 30% more time on our media because they will not leave. Yeah, so in the past it was always the case. Oh, great. Yeah, so I read an article at Business Insider or Morning Brew or Politico or Welt, and then I have some questions, and I will shift my behavior to Google and will ask Google. Yeah, so and now you can ask us. Yeah, so we can also give you a lot of information. Yeah, so our AI tools are totally connected with all of our content on a global level, which is very, very relevant because we have content worldwide, which we can now connect, which is a huge advantage for us. So we see that much more people are coming on a direct way to us, because they trust us, and we see that they spend much more time on our media assets. And this is great. And this also means from an advertiser perspective, okay, you are looking for high engaged users, check. Yeah, so you're looking for people that really are interested in information and news, check. Yeah, so I think when I would be an advertiser, honestly, I'm always on the other side. First one I would invest is news media assets.
A little bit of PR and advertisement. So we launched Engage Operating System, which is a whole new way of looking at the feed, and it's all geared towards increasing the user engagement, less ad density, better experience to connect people to the brand in a much better way and spend more time on the brand. I think with LLM foundational models, I mean, our algos can today predict, I mean, it's much better way to have the user continue on the site, even from a monetization and from an experience point of view. And I think this is one great way that we can help and are helping.
And I wonder how that translates to advertisers who are maybe not looking for a big brand play, but are trying to target audiences over a long span of time, right up until that point of purchase. Can we talk a little bit about the opportunities there, how publishers are using tools to better target, better measure, and optimize for some different outcomes? Maybe we can start with you, David, on the end.
Look, it's about incremental ability to leverage unique data to identify the people at the right time and then drive them down the funnel. I mean, we are a full funnel platform, so we are today connecting your brand experiences, evaluating how much time you spend on a video, and if you're the right audience, we will then drive you towards a conversion, say, how to get to download an application for a credit card or to go to the Mercedes dealership and test the car. So just by analyzing the behavior of the user in a much better way today with AI, it allows us to be much smarter about branding to performance in one experience, for example.
I think it's very important, yeah, so that we try to work together with strong tech companies like the Trade Desk and Teats, yeah, so because they have another infrastructure for us as publisher, they have much more data we can use, yeah, so I think when you think about, so to do everything for your own as a publisher, I think you will fail. You need strong collaborations, yeah, so, and also different partners, yeah, so that you don't have just one or two, you need much more.
But just to connect the dots for a second, so you've got two of the most powerful data sources that all of us use here, and I think the interesting thing is, like, think about it. If you're driving people down the funnel by analyzing, and if everything that you've done is inside the typical doom scroll, so you're still like predicting. You're not really there, but imagine that you're doing it within the closed environment of people who are on a trusted site, who are staying on that site. I don't know, I couldn't guess at the percentage, but I'm ready to bet that the percentage accuracy is higher. So when you're driving them down and you're watching their behavior in the site that they've stayed in for a fairly good amount of time, because they're checking all the time, your ability to use that data is way better. Would you agree?
I would, yeah. I think it's like we're in a pretty pivotal time, like I think for the industry right now, because we're basically ending up with 2 or 3 big platforms, and then the diverse ecosystem of what we call the open internet that includes like all of the premium journalism brands, entertainment brands that we spend a lot of time on, and it's actually that we spend. And we measure that like 2/3 of the time we spend in the open internet, but only like 1/3 of the ad budgets go to the open internet, and that affects all of our like biggest streaming, audio, but also journalism. And I think we're now at a time where we need to build that ecosystem in a way that it can compete better with the walled gardens to actually like make it win its fair share in the ecosystem. And I think targeting and measurement is a big part of that, where we're working together with publishers and tech platforms to just making the supply chains more efficient, so that the results for buyers are better in the open internet, that it's easier for them to buy in the open internet. And then we work on new identity solutions together, where we, for example, work with Axel Springer on things like NetID, UTIC, UID, like all of those things is like to just enable buyers to better find their audiences on those like highly premium and engaged environments. And then tie it together across the entire open internet so that we can actually give credit to every impression out there, whether it's like a video ad, a banner ad in like journalism or on TV, or when you're listening to your news podcast, for example, and tie it together and give credit to those publishers that have created that, instead of just focusing on like the last click conversion that basically just ends up giving the big platforms all the credit.
Which
The other
feels
thing, just to add for half a second, I think one of the problems, and it's one of the reasons that we got together in the industry to help solve some of these issues, is that, for example, when I came up in the business, and I imagine, David, you too, we learned about media. Like, you understood what media did. Like, you understood the difference between news and entertainment, between sports and news, between a live event and a non. These were things that you learned and you understood the value of each. Today, in all the agencies, 80%, 90%, I don't know, of the media people are looking at drop-down menus. Like, that's how they media plan. So they honestly don't care. They just look at the drop-down menus. They optimize by hitting buttons and saying, okay, no news, or here's what I'm gonna, and they're not thinking about all the things that we're talking about here. So, again, one of the things that we've taken a very strong stand on is that you have to educate the media planners of today, because once an AI is going to make that more efficient, meaning it's going to be even more automated. So the importance of brands understanding the value of premium media is way beyond just pressing a button.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like there's 2 mindset shifts that are basically happening right now. Like, one is that we're trying to support is like news is not bad for your brand. So this is the one thing. And then the next one is that you basically need to focus on value instead of cost. Because I think like in the media industry, we focused on cost for very, very long, just looking for the cheapest reach. And I think we are the only industry that thinks like, oh, if I buy as cheap as possible, I'm going to get the best product. Like, you don't do that when you buy a car or a house or whatever. Like, even not in the supermarket when you buy meat. Like, you wouldn't do that, like, to a chicken. But we somehow do it in media. So it's like, and I think that needs to change. And then we can like really, and then we enable brands and agencies to go also to their CFOs and tell them like, hey, this is why we should invest more on those environments, because ultimately they need to see the value too. It can't be just like shiny or words like trust. It needs to be in the numbers too.
But I agree with you 100%. I think that's where we started with AI. I think we're getting towards the end. I think it's all about AI. AI really improves the ability to do exactly what you said, Sven. That wasn't there before. So the ability to drive better outcomes on the open internet versus walled gardens is today much higher than it was a couple of years ago, and I think it will only progress. And if you take that and combine with the trustworthiness and proliferation of crappy AI content and shifting people, I think that combination of better outcomes with AI and more trust and having more people going to those And it's all AI. I mean, people look at AI as a risk, but I think it's a huge opportunity for all of us together to really get sort of back those dollars to better places for advertisers and for our society. So
There's been a lot of conversation about AI search tools sort of siphoning some traffic away from publishers because somebody says, oh, I got exactly what I need. I don't need to click through. I wonder, and maybe we can start with you, Christoph, how you're thinking about sort of recapturing that, bringing somebody in. How do you build and continue to build on the trust that the Axel Springer brands have with consumers, continue to build on that, and get them out of that experience and into, you know, the ecosystem that you have built?
I think the most important part how we use AI is that we now have much more time for real journalism. Yeah, so because so when you ask the editorial teams what makes you happy, so then no one will tell you, or cutting research, yes, and all of this stuff. So they spend more than 70% of their time not with interviews, with investigation, so and now they have much more time to produce very, very exclusive stories. And this helps us a lot because now we have much more exclusive content. It also means, so when you have much more exclusive content, you attract your heavy users much more often because it's just necessary to send them a push and they come and, oh, there are some news we can share on a global level. So it also means with AI now we have better, a happier editorial team. We have much more output. We have much more exclusive stories. So because so it's journalism is very, very expensive. So you need top people. So you also need people on the ground. So you need a network, a worldwide network. So because when something has happened in the US or in other countries, you have to produce it and you have to make sure that you can inform, hopefully at first. And it also means, so our brands are the brands not just in Germany but also in other countries, who are has the most important quotes. So and this also means, so from it's not just the quantity, it's also the quality. And this is how we deal with AI. So for us, so AI is the first time where also the editorial team feel the power of technology, so because they can have a lot of support, and we try to do our best to have a very, very lean and AI-driven structure so that they can focus on what they love.
Can I ask you a question on that? It's like I think there was a bit controversy when your CEO put out an AI support or written article. What's your position on like having AI support writing articles there? What's your position on that?
I think it was a very interesting discussion in Germany, and I think what our CEO and Matthias Stöpfner, he also said that you can use AI, but you have to do it at first with your name, and you also have to make sure that everyone will see that parts of the contents are coming from AI. So I think the most important topic is that people are writing things in their name using AI, but are not named like this. So, and I think this is what the discussion was about. So, should you really tell everyone that you use AI or not? So, and our perspective is you have to do it. So, when you use AI, then be transparent. So, explain it to the audience so that everyone can understand. Okay, there is an AI part in this article, but overall, especially for our exclusive stories, so we do it without any AI integration.
Because I think it's interesting how this like mirrors like on the editorial side of what we see on the media buying side, where there's like also some platforms that basically just promise you, let just our AI do everything, and you're just like, we're gonna buy it all for you. So basically, just like control your future, basically there. And when you rather than say, okay, AI is just like my actual assistant that helps me, but ultimately like human does like most of the thinking in the background, but it just like makes me as a human being more efficient. And the transparency part is there as well. Like when AI is applied, make it transparent, that it's been like human plus AI. So it's great.
So yeah, exactly. I think the part of the argument is the difference in efficiency and effectiveness. So if you ever hear anybody talk about AI efficiency, it means they're firing everybody and they're getting rid of whoever's doing the work. If they talk about effectiveness, it's doing what you do. I think that the issue around AI, and I think it's what's going to ultimately make us successful as human beings or not successful, and make news continue to be successful or not, is how we approach it as people. And I think that if you go back, so I write about this a lot, and I discovered this is actually pretty interesting. Turns out that Socrates was against writing. He actually wrote a piece and he said, writing is bad because you don't think. He just wanted people to think, right? Because that was his shtick. Like, he walked around and he would ask you questions and that was it. So writing was bad. We know that at the outset of Google, schools banned it, didn't work, and part of the reason was because people weren't checking. So they would just take whatever crap they picked out and they would put it into an article, or they would put it into their school paper, or they were writing for school or whatever they were giving to a client, and they didn't bother to check because, hey, it's on the internet, it must be true. And so that would prove to be nonsense, and so that went away. We're seeing that now with AI. The same thing. I won't mention their name, but one of the most prominent consulting companies in the world got nailed last week because they published a report that had hallucinations in it, and nobody bothered to look. But it was so obvious when people started to read it, and then they had to back off and say, well, yeah, we made a mistake. I'm sure a lot of people got fired. But that's ridiculous. So in my view, I call this the Da Vinci factor. I won't explain the whole thing. You can go read it. But it's this notion of what we do with AI as humans is going to determine how all of this works. And the more we teach people, for example, prompting is going to be an art. And so there's schools now, colleges are teaching people how to prompt, because if you want to use it right, like for example, like a journalist, how do you prompt? If you're looking for something, how do you prompt? Try it. Prompt a question, ask about something in the news, and you might get an answer. Prompt and say, I want the source connection, and it'll come back to you with the source connection, and you can go check it yourself. And I think that as people understand how, and understand that it is Google-ish in a sense, if you really want to be smart about it, it just gives it to you in a more, maybe in a more intelligible way. It's going to be, it's amazing. But if you don't, and you just get it as a written piece, then you're in trouble, because you really have no idea. You don't know. But if you ask it and tell me, where did you get that from? Give me the click-through. And then you go check it. And then you can go down another rabbit hole. I think that's fabulous. I mean, I love it. I'm lost in it all day long, because I think that that's the key. And if we don't do that, I think Da Vinci called it sempre verde, like know what you see. If you don't know what you see, you're screwed, basically.
But Kelsey, maybe you can also share how do you use AI in your editorial team at Morning Brew?
Well, it depends on the team. I think that's the big thing. I know we have lots of people at different parts of the company who are using it for, analyzing huge sets of data very quickly. I think on the editorial side, primarily, we are thinking about using it for understanding data sets quickly so that we kind of know where to look. If you're looking at, a document that's 50, 100 pages long, it can help to distill that. But of course, that human touch is very important. There's also discussion about using it for optimizing headlines, subject lines, and emails, things like that we can faster test and then learn from that. And I think the primary way that I'm using it at the moment is with my analytics team. They are able to look at, 500 subject lines in a newsletter in 35 seconds and distill some takeaways of what can we do better. That's not something I would have ever had time to do before. Neither would they. So that's, we use that for being able to get those insights so that we can make a better product for our readers. I want to bring it back to trust. And the reason I want to bring it back there is because I think consumer trust in some of these AI tools is wavering, and I think part of it is the hallucinations, saying I don't know what's happening, and that, to me, that feels like a big opportunity for publisher brands and for the tech brands that publishers partner with. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the opportunity for the publishers that are getting it right in this moment where somebody's saying, I do need to take an extra step. I need to find where this is from. David from Stagwell, maybe we can start with you, because you said at the beginning there are some publishers that will succeed here and some publishers that won't.
Yeah, I think that so just think about what the environment looks like today. So radio has become podcasts. It's basically the same thing, right? Except that now, and what's interesting about podcasts, for example, is that in the old broadcast model, because of economics, we lost the notion of having a personality who was trusted, because the personality who was trusted became less important than the brand that was sponsoring them. So in America, for example, like a CBS News or an NBC News who might have had, or an ABC News, who might have had CBS, for example, Walter Cronkite was one of the most famous television, newscasters of all time. Today, he would be secondary to the CBS brand. And that's the problem, right? So what's happened is that the podcasts have come in, and so you have guys like Joe Rogan, and you have whoever, I won't mention their names, who are personalities. And the news guys don't get it, that it's not because of just the crazy stuff that they tend to say. It's because of their personalities. People are looking for trust. They see them, and they say, oh, I trust that guy because I know him. Now, ultimately, I think they're going to suffer if the other publishers get their act together and figure out this notion that it's not about trust is not this blank wall. Trust is a brand, right? We trust brands. We have a brand here. Like, you trust a brand. You trust whatever brand it is. You trust if you buy Coca-Cola and you pop the can and you don't hear the fss, you're never going to buy it again because you're not going to trust it. That's just bottom line. So you have to trust the source. And the question is, why do you trust that news source? Why do you trust that thing? You trust it because people put their names on their articles. You trust it because I know that their history of reporting is good. Not just, oh yeah, I want to hear what I want to hear. You just know it. So I think that the more we get into this, the more trust is going to matter, and the more we're going to look to, because we don't think of the news brands like we think about the other brands. News is a brand like Coca-Cola or Nike's or Pepsi or anything. Teads is a brand. In our industry, like, these guys are a brand. These guys are a brand. We trust them. We know who they are. That's why we work with them. If we didn't trust them, we wouldn't use them to buy. If we thought that they were, everything was going through AI, I don't think we would trust them, honestly. So I think it's the same thing. I think it's this notion of, as time goes on, people are going to get worried about this AI thing. They're going to get worried about hallucination. They're going to be worried about scam. They're going to be worried about where it's going. And I think they're going to demand trust. Like, if you don't give me what to believe in, I'm out.
Yeah. Christoph, how are you thinking about expanding on that opportunity?
Honestly, yeah. So we also have to embrace reality, yeah, so that the publishing houses are not in best shape. Yeah, so in Europe, yeah, so we also have a lot of meetings with our competitors, and they are telling us, look, yeah, so what you did for years, invested like crazy and to transform your business from print to digital, yeah, so we haven't achieved this so far. Now we don't have this digital reach. Now we will be attacked from the LLMs. So there are also some cases that people stop to manage their digital business and just focusing on print. Yeah, so a lot of publishing houses are suffering and dying, and I think this is also part of the reality, that it's also the responsibility for us, but also from the advertising market to invest into journalism, because otherwise we will just have 3, 4, 5 different sources of news in the next years, and this will be a nightmare. Yeah, so we need competition. We need also different opinions. We also need to struggle with our opinions. I think this is very important for democracies. Yeah, so, and when this will die, a lot of our democracy will also die. And this is what I'm thinking about. That we have to work together.
I will just add, I said it a couple of times, it's that plus delivering value to advertisers with leveraging AI. I mean, this is not enough. I think this is why it's important for all of us. That's why we're here. But then it's about AI helping increase the trust in those premium publishers like Axel Springer, and for us to deliver data and tech, leveraging AI that brings the returns on ad spend or brand lifts or anything on the open internet, which includes publishers, CTV, retail media, many environments, to a much higher level, which is what's happening, which traders talked about, and we see it also. I think that's...
Yeah, let's just grow the pie of the open internet, and like all of the premium journalism brands will win, and democracy will win. Yeah.
Win-win.
What
We all will win.
What a good note to end on. Well, thank you all so much for being here. It was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.